Hey guys, Ryan with Shootwise. Today we got a video on how to restore some GI mags. So you might just be on a stroll, just walking around. Next thing you know, you run across some mags, or let's say you're walking your dog. You're just walking your dog, and next thing you know, you're like, hey, what's that? Out of the corner of your eye, is that some GI mags that fell off a truck? Let me go inquire about that. Well, look at this. Some nice treasures. Let's bring this back to the shop. Let's get these puppies restored. It just looks like the springs have rusted out on them, and the followers got some corrosion going on there. We got some rust. We got some oxidizing going on with the aluminum, and I think that's just hindering these mags from working. I think someone at the range taped these up to let you know these are no good. Well, we're about to make them beautiful again. Now, during this pandemic, I didn't think it was going to be difficult to find springs for 20 round AR mags, but apparently it's a thing that people just go and buy springs just as spares, or maybe their springs are gone bad, or they plan on their springs going bad. Well, I was able to find some. They weren't the cheapest. Generally, you could probably pick these springs up for like $2. I found these for $2.99. I got these from CDNN, and I bought 20 of them because we got 20 mags that we're going to restore today, and might as well change out all the springs on all of them. Shipping was $9.99, so our grand total in this project is going to be $69.79 for 20 AR mags. I think that's a pretty good deal. Let's go ahead and get these suckers stripped down and get them cleaned up. Make these magazines work again. We're going to put these off to the side. We don't really need them at this moment. What we're going to focus on is tearing these magazines down. You can see that they're a little wet, and reason for that is we're getting hit by Tropical Storm Beta at the moment, and this is the third hurricane or tropical storm to come towards us, and just not a fun hurricane season at the moment. But since it's rained out and not at the range at the moment, which I would prefer to be shooting my AK that I just got back together. Instead, we're going to do this video on restoring these AR mags. I've been having this project sit around probably for 4 to 5 months right now, and just now getting around to making this video. So let's go ahead and tear these suckers down. Before we get too far, this is the reason that these magazines are no good at the moment. I want you to get a close-up on this. See how the followers are all at weird different angles. There's a lot of corrosion and oxidizing going on here. That's all hindering these things from working. And some of these, it's seized up all the way down here. I'm suspecting that some of these springs are broken. They just need a good cleaning. The springs definitely need to be replaced, but I'm pretty sure all these are going to be able to come back to life. There's no real major dents or dings, so that would pretty much make these housings no good. If there was real big dents or bulging or anything like that, then you pretty much toss them, unless you're a sheet metal guy and you're gonna tinker that sucker back straight and beautiful. But just wanted you to get a close-up on that. There's a lot of rust going on in here on the steel parts, and the springs are steel, so they probably rusted out. They might have been submerged or something. Alright, enough talking about that. Let's get these suckers ripped apart. Say that you never taken apart a GI 20 round AR mag before. I always like to use a Glock tool. This is the best thing Glock ever made. And there's a hole right here, and that is so that you can push down on there's a sheet metal piece that's riveted to the front of this magazine, and there's a tab that connects right there to the base plate, and when you push down on it, that disconnects the base plate so that you can slide it off towards the rear like so. Base plate comes off. Now you can dig your spring out. Just move that side to side, and then your follower is going to come up top here, and you just got to rotate that to the side, and you're going to wiggle that straight past these two tabs, and then it's going to rotate out, and that's how you take the housing out. Now to get the follower off, you got to bend this little spring a little bit, and then you could pop the follower off the spring like so. That's your follower. Here's your spring, base plate, housing, and that's how you take a GI mag apart. Looking good, looking good. We got the magazines, housings all tore down. We got the base plates, the followers. I'm trying to keep them with the same housings. I'm not trying to mix stuff up. Some of these are Colts, and they fetch more money on the used market for some odd reason. They don't make a better magazine, but people pay more for them. This is a Ventureline one. This is Universal. So we got several different brands here. The only benefit I can see with the Colt ones is if you got an old vintage Colt AR and you're just trying to get a Colt magazine for it. I think that does probably add some value for collector's sake, but for function, they all work the same. All you need is a good spring. Speaking about springs, I got all these tore off. Let me show you what we're going to do with these springs. Take care of those springs. I did notice one of the magazines, you know how I was talking about earlier, the only thing that would hinder you restoring one of these magazines is if it was dented or warped or something. Well, one of them is dented right here. I had a real hard time getting the follower out, and it's also warped up top here. I don't know how well that's going to pick up, but you can tell it's pushed forward and rotated like that. I'm going to try to bend that back, see if we could save this one. If not, if we lose one, we lose one. I mean, 19 is still better than 0 magazines here. So if we only lose one of the 20, I don't think it's a big loss. But I'm going to try to bring this sucker back to life. I'm going to try to pry and bend that straight and get this not so warped so that the follower moves freely inside. Alright, so we got one that's potentially dead but not yet. Alright, to get this started, I recommend getting some gloves. This is going to get kind of messy. I like to use brake cleaner to clean all these magazines up. Also some nice brushes. This is going to be a copper brush, and then we got a nice nylon brush. I like to use the nylon ones on the anodized parts so that we don't mess up the anodizing too bad. I mean, as you can see, some of the anodizing's gone, but what we can save, I would like to, if we got to paint them, we'll paint them, but not a big deal. Also some solvent. I like the Hoppies number 9, some good solvent there. I'm also going to use a bench grinder that has a Brillo pad on it to speed up the process of cleaning these followers up. Got a blue bin that I'm going to start spraying into and start scrubbing this stuff in there. And this is cleaning. So these magazines are cleaning up nice. We're trying to get all this debris and gunk and crud just off of the magazine so that they work better. I really like to use the nylon on the outside to prevent scratching up the magazine. We want to keep that vintage look, but we just want to get all this grime off. And I'm using the copper brush on the inside. As you can see, there's rust on there. The front of this magazine is like a spring type steel, and that's part of the retainer for the base plate, and that's riveted on the front here, and that's where your rust is coming from, and then you get a lot of oxidizing from the aluminum parts. So I've just been putting them in this bin, spraying them down real good, inside, outside, and then with the nylon brush just scrubbing the outside. Good thing about the brake cleaner, it evaporates really quick. You could use, I guess, soap and water, maybe some hot water, so that it evaporated quicker. If you didn't have brake cleaner, I would just get the brake cleaner. I find it's easier. And as you can see, look how nice that cleans up. I mean, that's almost brand new. I mean, look at the other side, all grimy, grunge-like, and then nice and clean. And we're going to do this for all three components, and let's keep on going. All 20 magazines all cleaned up now, and look at the filth that came out of those guys. I had to change my gloves a total of 5 times. As you can see how dirty it gets. Just scrubbing all of the just dirt, debris. It's just nasty. Some of these magazines, you know, probably 20, 30 years old. Only if they could talk, they could probably tell us what year they were made. But they have seen some nasty gunk. I mean, they're just all grimy, but we got them all cleaned up now. We're gonna start working on that one magazine. This one here. This is a Colt one. This is the one I was telling you about that's got a nice little dent right here, and it's kind of warped. We're gonna see if we can try to correct that and see if we can save this one magazine here. The magazine into the vise, I just put a towel around it. Normally I like to use like pieces of leather, but I just don't have any here at my house. Normally use those at work. This is a home project today. Now I'm going to insert this screwdriver where that dent is, and I'm going to try to pop it out. I've already noticed just by putting it in the vise at this position right here that it's already making the top of the magazine wider. I think when it got dented, it pushed it inwards, and just by squeezing it like that, it's pushing it out. I have this furniture clamp here. I'm going to clamp the bottom of the magazine to the vise, so when I go to rotate that dent out, the bottom of the magazine doesn't try to kick out. And the dent's just right down here. I'm going to get in there with the screwdriver and just twist ever so slightly up and down. Try to massage it out. still there. Not as bad. Let's just keep on working it. I was able to get the magazine bent back, and the follower now goes up and down in the magazine. Camera kind of died, so I had to change batteries. But what I used to bend that back was a piece of copper pipe. And when I had it in the vise, I just inserted the copper pipe right here, and I just rolled that back up. I just put a slight little tension this way and just rolled this dent back up. You could barely see it. It's not as big as it was before, but I just rolled this pipe in there, back and forth, and now the follower's going up and down with no resistance. So I'm going to give this a try. If I have any issues with malfunctions, I'm going to go back and try to roll it some more with the pipe. But I'm pretty happy with the results. I didn't mar it up to mess up the nice patina that we got going on here. It's got a nice little gold varnish going on, which is pretty cool for these old Colt mags. And be pretty exciting if this one actually ends up working after this. But yeah, it doesn't hurt to just add a little bit of extra time, try to correct those issues. If it's heavily dented, I wouldn't even waste the time. But I think this was worth the extra effort to try to get that little dent out. And let's see if it actually works in the future. And polish up these followers. They still got some oxidizing going on. I'm going to put a little flitz. This is like a little Brillo pad that's on a bench grinder. We're just going to put a little flitz on there just to help with polishing these followers up. It's going to increase reliability and reduce friction so that they can move freely. Alright, we've been putting the magazines back together with the new springs from CDNN, and it's going pretty smooth. Everything's working like it's supposed to. I only found one magazine that unfortunately I'm not going to be able to use so far. And like I was telling you before, this front spring metal on the magazine, that's it's riveted on by these 3 rivets here, and this one, the bottom rivet has broke. So when you put your base plate on, it's not going to be able to retain it. It's just going to slide right off, which is no go. That's not good. Your magazine's going to fall apart in the field, and that's just not going to work. So unfortunately, this is no good. And let me show you where we're going to put this. And we took care of that. Now, if you never put one of these magazines together, there's a little hole drilled here in the follower, and the springs are directional. So this is going to be the top of the spring, and this is the bottom of the spring. Now when this is installed, this is the front side of the spring, and that's going to fit in this groove right here on top of the follower. And these could be a little tricky to loop in there, but it just loops in like so. Now also trying to get this into the housing can be difficult. I like to go to the front first, rotate that in, and then you get this sideways, and then you just push that in. Now the spring you just loop back and forth, and it just goes into that housing. And then you're going to hold that down with your finger, get your base plate, slide that puppy on. You're going to go all the way down to that spring that I was telling you about before. Get your nice little Glock tool, push that down. Alright, and then you get it underneath those two tabs right there. Now when you push it the rest of the way, you're going to hear a click, and that's going to be that spring locking in right there. Now this base plate won't slide off while you're shooting, and that's no good. So there we go, all good to go on that one. Thumbs up, and let's finish these mags. We got 19 of the magazines back together. I think that's a pretty good win. This is my Colt SP1, and this is what I was talking about. If you had some Colt magazines, it's nice to match the magazines up to the rifle. Some of these rifles don't have their original magazine, so some people are out there looking for the original Colt mags so that they can keep their gun as authentic as possible. Now we're going to use this for demonstration purposes to see if our magazines are working right. They should lock the bolt to the rear. That one works just fine. Also they're loading ammo just fine so far. Now we won't know if they're fully combat ready or super reliable until we actually go out in the field and we shoot them. Make sure that we don't have any malfunctions. But right now we're just doing some simple tests that we can do at home. So that one's all good to go. One that I'm super excited about is this one. Man, look at that. It's got like a nice little gold a varnish going on there, and I think that's pretty cool. I might leave that one in here. Uh-oh. So this is what I was talking about. You want to test them, make sure that they work. We might have bent this one a little too much, because now up top it's not sliding in. So this is going to have to be bent back. Let's see if we can just bend that in the vise real quick. I think I'm going to have to play with this magazine some more. It's still slightly warped. It's not going into the magazine housing real smooth. It's real tight. So I think it's bulged in some type of area or warped. So I'm just going to have to play with that some more. I really like the look of this mag, so I'm willing to put the effort to get this one up and running. Where if it looked like this one, I mean, that just looks like standard. Where, as you can see, this has got like a gold sheen to it, which I really like. I think it's pretty cool. Also, it is a Colt magazine, so I think it would look good with this SP1. So I'm going to mess with that magazine some more. But let's continue testing. We're going to put this off on the no-go side. This is the whole purpose of these tests. Make sure that it inserts, make sure it locks back on the last round. Whole magazine drops out. Put that to the side, and we're just going to continue. Another thing we want to test out, make sure that ammo goes in there easily. We're going to use some Aguila 62 grain here. You just want to make sure that pops in to your magazine easily. Just push straight down. And I mean, seems like it's working well. Got nice consistent pressure. Followers aren't binding up. But the true test will be at the range. make sure everything works well, make sure we got good proper feeding. But so far everything's going pretty well. Math real quick, let's figure out what we got into these magazines. We got the housing, the followers, the base plates for nothing, just because we found them on the side of the road. And one man's trash is another man's treasure. And brake cleaner, we used a can of brake cleaner, so plus $3. We used 5 sets of gloves, some paper towels. We'll add another $3 in there. And right now we only have about 18 mags working. One we had to toss, the other one we're still playing with. So to be on the fair side, let's divide that by 18, and we've roughly got $4.21 in each mag. I mean, that's pretty cool. At the end of the day, I mean, these are 20 round aluminum mags. I actually preferred the 20 rounds. It's easy to get into the prone position. You just need 10 of these in your bug out gear and you got 200 rounds. And the aluminum mags are lighter. They drop free also, so I think that's a good benefit compared to the polymer ones. Sometimes they're a little too snug in the housing. Also, they're going to be period correct for this particular rifle, the Colt SP1, which I enjoy. It's a pretty cool gun. And I think that's all we got until we can get to the range and test these suckers out and put them through their paces, make sure that they're fully operational. That's all we got for today. Thanks for watching this video. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, and there's another quarantine video for y'all. See y'all next time.